This, ladies and gentlemen, is football.
Hello and welcome back to Total A-Leagues. It is James Dodd and Alex Brosque with you this week. A couple of substitutes off the bench. Brosque, Vince is off with the case of Postecoglouitis, I think. Hopefully you get better soon, Vince, and Tommy Orr is away this week. But it is the best week of the season. Grand final week, Alex Brosque. It's a Melbourne derby. We've got transfers to talk about. Ange Postecoglou, the Matildas trio winning the UEFA Women's Champions League. We've got a couple of interviews, Bruno Fornaroli and Nathaniel Atkinson. But grand final week, is this the best week of the season for a player leading up to the grand final, or is it the most nerve-wracking?
Oh, well, it sure beats the pre-season and all the running you've got to do. Look, it's an incredible week. It's all the hard work is done, you know. So strangely, as exciting as it is, it's the most probably calm week you'll get all season, you know. I think all the hard work's done and you're there. You know, all eyes are on both teams in this moment. And just in your head, you know, you're visualising both the good and the bad. You know, you're trying to focus on everything good that's going to happen. Imagine yourself, winning and lifting the trophy, celebrating with fans. But, you know, those bits of doubt creep in and you start thinking, well, what if we lose and what happens here and all of that. So it's an incredible week. I think, as a player, to get to play in a grand final is special. And no doubt the players are living it up this week, enjoying the moment, enjoying the fact that it's a Melbourne derby as well. It doesn't come much bigger than this occasion, and I can't wait for it.
Can't wait for it. We're going to speak to two people today, Brosque, one of which has won a grand final, Nathaniel Atkinson. The other player who's yet to win one, surprisingly, given his resume, is Bruno Fornaroli. Bruno, it must be exciting times at training this week. Just what's the mood like after that win over Auckland at the weekend?
Hi, guys. Yeah, of course, happy. That's the first thing. And ready, you know, it's important week. You have to enjoy different week and ready for another grand final.
Bruno, how much did you enjoy the week? What were the celebrations like? It was a huge win. Not a lot of people gave the victory hope going away to Auckland, but you guys had an incredible game, fantastic performance by you as well. Another big goal to add to your collection. What was the game like? How did you see it? And again, the celebrations afterwards.
Yeah, look, we know we tough game there, but we believe as a team, and we know that we have to do something different. I think, and the secret was the heart. We put the heart inside the field to win the game. You know that Auckland play good football and difficult to break them. But from the start to the end, I think we try to play football. We fight when we have to fight, but at the same time we have to create chances and we score the 2 goals. Of course, for me the celebration with my teammates, with the fans that believe in us, and they fly to Auckland to support the team was important. So now we expect to see everyone here at Emi Park and enjoy with them and of course try to win my first grand final.
Bruno, just take us into the mindset in the week leading up to the game, because obviously after the game, Steve Corica, the Auckland boss, said that the change in formation really caught Auckland off guard, and that was obviously something that Arthur Dillis had pinpointed at the start of the week leading up to it. What was that like for you as players? And I guess how early did you know that you would be starting this game, given that starts have been a bit of a rarity for you this season?
Yeah, of course. We have to change something, and then also some injuries also give the chance to us to maybe, all right, we need to change. But we believe when the boss say we want to play in this way, and we know it doesn't matter what the formation he will put. We know what we have to do something more than the last game. So at the end of the day, is how much we want in the effort that we put inside the team, that we have the players that believe in our fans as well. So I think that's at the end the secret. What we won there, and now, like I said before, we are ready to take this grand final.
Just looking a little bit more on Arthur Dillis, he came in, early on in the season, but it was a challenging period for you. It took 7 games to win a game, and you look at that team and that period then compared to now, the squad you are is completely different. What did Arthur do to sort of bring that belief back in, and what has he brought to the team?
I think calmness, when he arrived, of course, he's first season as a head coach for the club, and I think everyone thought that we have to help each other, and it was a difficult period for everyone, not just for the players, coach, and the club. I think it was for everyone. But he always talked about that we need to trust the process, and we need to believe in the way that he want to play. I think at the end, football pay show what we can do with this group of players that we have. Is amazing, and the young players that are coming through as well, they did a great job, and especially in the hard moments where we need them, they show up. So that means that everyone involved, everyone together, and this is why we are in the grand final now.
Bruno, just for you personally, it's been such a journey for you since you've come to Australia. You're now a Socceroo. You've won pretty much everything apart from a championship. Just what would it mean personally for you to get one in the bag and win this weekend?
I mean, for me, is everything. Actually, after 10 years fighting and give everything for the football, and try to be a top professional, good teammate, and help everyone close to me, and try to do everything right. I think it's time. But I believe in football gods, and then sometimes if someone asks me, you wanna win 2 or 3 leagues, or you wanna win one, and could be like this, probably I will sign this one. So I can't wait. This is 90 minutes, 120 or penalties, but we have to take it. This is I think the time to win this title for me and for the club, and obviously for our fans that are waiting this for a long time. So it's time to put victory back where we deserve it.
And just a bit more on yourself, Bruno. You came to Australia in 2015. It's been an incredible journey. I mean, back then, 2015, you land here. You couldn't speak much English. You didn't know much about the A-League. You've now gone on to do everything you have. 112 goals, I think it is. You've put on a Socceroos jersey. Did you ever think that you would have the impact that you've had and on the league and on so many kids around the country?
Look, honestly, when Jess arrived, I was not thinking in that way. I was very competitive and tried to fight and play and try to show what I can do inside the field. But obviously, I didn't know that I could have this impact in the league. But I'm very proud of this, and I need to thank a lot of people who was around and helped me in this 10 years in the country, and made me feel part of the country. And at the point that you say, where the Socceroos shares was the highest point in my career, and it's something that is amazing. But it's not that yet. I'm still believe that I have a lot more to do, a lot more to bring and give to the Australian football. So I hope that we can win this, and will be so special for me and for my family to reach something that is special for the players. So let's see what happens on the weekend, and I hope, like I said before, I hope this time we can win the trophy.
Bruno, we've already seen you give one pretty infamous speech after winning a trophy. Can we expect you to give another good speech if you win the grand final this weekend? Look,
probably my kids, my wife will tell me that I will not take any microphone after the final. Let's do the job first, win, and now I can speak a little bit better English. I understand better the words, so probably I will not say this again. Like Alex said before, I understand now the kids, they are looking, they copying you, they try to be like you, and then so I have to bring a big example, a good example for them. So probably the words will be different. Bruno, just remains to be said, best of luck this weekend. It's been an absolute pleasure watching you in a Victory shirt this season. If it is your last game for the club, then I'm sure the Victory fans will remember you fondly. Thank you very much for your time. Best of luck in the grand final.
Thanks, Bruno.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much.
Brosque, just a word on Bruno Fornaroli there. Spoke really well about his role within this team in Melbourne Victory and his journey here to Australian football. But I mean, it would be pretty special. Not that there's a bias here, but to see someone like Bruno lift the championship trophy at last at the age of 37.
Look, being football lovers, we love fairy tales, and Bruno, what he's done for the league and having played against him, having seen the effect that he's had on the A-League. He's a legend of the league, a legend of this country, I think, with what he's done. And up there, really, I think, with Berisha as the top two most prolific guys that we've ever seen. So, it's the one thing missing in his locker at the moment, that grand final trophy. And he does deserve it. I think you look across the field and every player will lay claims to deserving the trophy, but for everything he's done, I think it would be nice to see him take it out. But again, just an incredible effect he's had on so many people and our game.
We touched on with that, Bruno, about the mannerisms leading up to that game in Auckland and the way that Arthur Dillis made some changes, one of which was putting him in. Is it actually a surprise when you think about it that in a time of need, Arthur Dillis turned to the veteran of the league because he knew exactly what he was going to get from Bruno Fornaroli? And that's no slight on Nikos Virgos, but you know what you're getting with Bruno Fornaroli, especially in a big game of that magnitude.
Well, that's what these games are about, big players and big moments. I think everybody expected that Auckland, after winning 1-0 in Melbourne, was going to go back home and not see a comfortable victory, but, they were going to go on with it and be in the grand final. And you look to players like this in big moments, and Bruno's certainly one of them. He's delivered so many times, funnily enough, for Melbourne City as well as Melbourne Victory. But you're right, you do know what you're going to get. He's a player that in tough games, in tense moments, he can deliver a moment of quality. He can win you the ball. He can keep possession of the ball like not many can. And he's someone you can rely on, and he will deliver.
Let's talk about the game itself, shall we? Because, going into it, Go Media Stadium, packed to the rafters, leading 1-0, having the second best defence in the regular season. Most people thought Auckland FC would probably get the job done and seal a grand final spot in their first season in existence. They didn't because of the way that Melbourne Victory approached the game, the way that they played. They completely nullified them and they changed the shape as well going into this, which Steve Corica said after the game really caught Auckland by surprise, and actually they had to kind of adapt and change. By the time they did, it was probably too late. How does Arthur Dillis and this team do this? Because his mantra going into the finals has been kill or be killed. They go away to CommBank Stadium, beat the Wanderers, and convincingly so. They turn this game around, they go to Auckland and get a 2-1 aggregate win. Just how's he done that, Brosque?
Look, I think, again, in turning to certain players, I think you know what you're going to get with a player like Bruno, and we touched on that. But I think when these guys look around the change room, they've got so much quality, and I feel like they would have had that belief. And for Arthur Dillis, it's just instilling that week to week. I mean, for me, the job was done in CommBank. When they went there and beat the Wanderers, I don't think many people even expected that. So they've already did the hard work. They showed people that they can produce in big games like this. So I think the belief that they had going to Auckland would have been immense, and I think the longer this game went where they were frustrating Auckland, a side who'd been so good at home, the longer it went, the more they knew if we can just get a goal. And sometimes that's all it takes, the goal from Mashash was a deflection that came out of nowhere. Yeah. Wrong-footed Paulson, who'd been great all season himself, a defence who'd been so strong all season, and it's a moment of luck there, and that's all it takes. And you can see, even though Auckland threw everything in those final few minutes, the goal disallowed that we just saw, a moment, where a ball was cleared off the line in the 90th, this moment here, where this chance for Auckland normally throughout the season went in, and it just wasn't to be. So Melbourne Victory in finals football is a different beast.
Right, well, that's what I was going to come on to. Different beast in finals football. Why, and what are your experience of it? Because I dare say that, I think it was the 2017 season, you had such a good record against Melbourne Victory during the regular season, but you come up against them in finals, and it just feels like teams go, uh-oh, it's Melbourne Victory.
Well, look, I think there are teams going into moments like this that are just made for finals. I think both clubs, I think Sydney and Melbourne Victory, both probably didn't want to face each other when it came to finals, and we did so often. And you're right, that 2017 season, it was an incredible season for us. We beat Melbourne Victory all 3 times, so we knew we had their measure. But it was the one team that we didn't want to face in the final. for that reason alone. I think the victory shirt, what it does to those players, what it means to the players when they go out there in finals football is completely different, you know, and you can feel it, you can sense it as an opposing player. You just don't want to come up against them because you know that anything can happen. So even though we'd beaten them all 3 times, they pushed us to penalties. And James Treasy actually had a moment just before penalties where he's hit the post and that could have been it, you know. So everything we'd done, as well as we played against them, meant for nothing. And they were completely different when we played them in the final. So that's just what they become. You know, they are a big club. They're made for these moments, which is why, you know, they won't be, you know, overawed by the situation. They'll be ready to go.
Somebody who is used to big moments is a man you know very well, Steve Corica. Bimby was obviously very frustrated, speaking after the full-time whistle, particularly about the goal that didn't stand for Logan Rogerson. This is what he had to say about the goal essentially not being given because of the linesman's decision to rule it out for having crossed the line of play.
But it's very bitter not to have the opportunity to get into that game because I think, I don't know if you've seen, for me, the goal or the disallowed goal was fine for me. So, you know, this is what VAR is for. This is what the referee's job is to do. And I think, you know, definitely got it wrong and it was a disgraceful decision.
Have you had an explanation from the referee at all?
No, they don't speak to you, mate. They just walk off. So I'm sure there's supposed to be a time after the game that you can speak to them. But again, you know, it's happened a couple of times during the season. We have got punished for that in Adelaide twice. Then you get an apology, but you don't want an apology because that's not going to help us get in, you know, right now. I don't want to hear that.
Is this fuel for next year?
It will be, of course. There's got to be that burning sensation to go better than what we have done this season. So it's definitely going to be a long pre-season in that with the back of our minds. So.
Alex Brosque, we have all the angles coming, and it's obviously difficult for Steve Corica there because he's in a position where he hasn't seen what we've now seen. But is that more of a reflection of him there, do you think, where he's just unhappy overall with the performance and it wasn't necessarily this moment that cost them, but it's more he's just disappointed with how things have ended there?
It's a combination of both. Obviously, at that moment, emotions are running high and you can see he's very frustrated. And a few of those comments as well, you don't, at the end of a game, want to be blaming referees, you know, throughout the season or for a single decision. And I think for me, it's probably more this moment right here. I think when he looked at that and he was probably shown that, he thought that it didn't cross the line, and it didn't. But it's this part here and this moment where you can see a little bit there of Jack Duncan's reaction. He knows it's gone out. He keeps moving just in case the linesman doesn't put his flag up. But there is an angle that we see, which we'll see now, that shows that the ball seems to have crossed the line. And the linesman as well, when you look at his position, is in the perfect spot. So it's that moment there.
Which was fan footage taken from you. You can see here, Brosque, the ball there. It's pretty clear that.
And the linesman in the background is perfectly positioned. Yeah. You can't ask for more. So I think when Steve Corica goes back and looks at that, you know, he'll see that the correct decision was probably made. But it's frustrating because live, right, you couldn't overturn it either way. I think if the linesman keeps his flag down, it's that hard to tell that it probably, you know, the goal stands and they go into extra time. So it's a tough one to take. Again, emotions are running high, but I think it was the right decision.
It's a good question from, I think Jacob Spoonley said in the post-match on Sky Sport New Zealand there, will they use this as fuel going into next season? Because whilst it would feel like it's ended on a really, really kind of bitter and disappointing note for Steve Corica and Auckland FC, they've won the Premiership, could have potentially won it at a canter in their first season. They were by far and away the best and most consistent team in the regular season. They've got some brilliant players in this team. Hiroki Sakai, Guillermo Maia, Louis Verstraete, just to name a few, as well as the local players they've brought in. There are so many positives that outweigh that semi-final defeat that, you know, it would be really, really hard and critical for Steve Corica to look at himself and think it's ended in a disappointment because they've been brilliant this year.
And I think that's what makes it all the more difficult to take. I think all those points you raised there, the season that they had in building a squad from scratch, in building a club from scratch, in bringing this group of players together, Corica's done an amazing job. And not just Corica, everybody you know, involved with the club, from the owners, Terry McFlynn in being recruited to go there, what he's done and the people he's brought in as well. And again, it just makes it frustrating because of how good they were this season and what they brought to the league was incredible. Yeah. So I think, not this particular moment, but I think their whole season and what they've done, they'll be able to build on that. And it is more frustrating because they didn't go on after having won the Premiership to win the grand final, which they deserved. But absolutely, it's motivation for next season, and we can't wait to see them again, to see their fans again.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the scenes here from the port. You know, there was fans of every nationality there at Go Media Stadium. The fact that they had to increase the capacity shows just how much that city has fallen in love with the Black Knights this year. And there are so many positives. I mean, if you look at the squad that's going to be there for next season, I think the only ones who aren't signed on for another year are Nader Moreno, the Colombian winger, and Luis Toomey, I think, is the other player. And obviously, Alex Paulson is going to be heading back to Bournemouth, and from my understanding, he's probably going to end up at Hibs as well. So another player that is going to be in the Scottish football system next year. But I think if you look at Auckland FC overall, do you have them, given we know what we know about the players that are going to be there next year, do you have them as favourites? Maybe not to win the Premiership, but to go all the way and go deep again next year, given what they've been like this year?
Without a doubt, and more so because of, I guess, all the off-season drama that we're going to see, and we're hearing already. Clubs are losing some big players, and the consistency that they're going to have. I mean, they didn't have a lot of time to build this squad and put it together, and they've gone all the way to a semi-final. They've won a Premiership, so it's everything you expect and hope a club joining the A-League is going to be, and more. You know, I think they were fantastic, increasing the capacity and allowing the amount of fans they did, and seeing the amount of fans that we saw week to week was incredible. So I think they'll most certainly be up there again.
Well, we've already heard from the Melbourne Victory camp ahead of this weekend's grand final. Let's check in with Melbourne City, shall we? Nathaniel Atkinson has been kind enough to join us. Nathaniel, looking forward to a big one this weekend. How's training been? Have you been training today? And then what's the mood like amongst the camp?
Yeah, the boys are buzzing. Obviously, it's a big game, so I think the occasion does it for itself. You don't really need to get too excited for these ones. So yeah, the boys are buzzing, ready to go, and obviously had some training today, and yeah, fine-tuning everything.
It was an impressive tie against Western United. Looking back at those two games, the first game in particular, I mean, the tie was effectively put to bed there. I mean, what was the mindset going into it? You guys, was there a change because it's finals football? I mean, Western United had been so clinical and ruthless in front of goal for so many games this season. You guys, as strong as you are defensively, really kept them at bay there and frustrated them. Was there a change at all, or just carrying on what you'd done during the season?
Yeah, I think it was a bit more of, just carrying what we've done through the season. We play every game to win, and obviously we know they're attacking threat. They've scored a lot of goals this season, but I think the best way to shut them out of the game is to go to win. Obviously, we ended up with a draw. We took an early-ish lead, but when we put that early goal in, it probably kicked the wind out of them a bit, and put us in good stead for the rest of the game.
Just for you personally, Nathaniel, obviously you've got experience in this type of setting. You know, you are an A-Leagues champion. Just how does that change your approach compared to what you think maybe some of the younger players? Because obviously there's been so many young players in the Melbourne City team and the squad this season. So, like, how does that help you going into this game? And I suppose what can you advise the other players on that maybe haven't been in this position before?
Yeah, it's a bit strange because obviously I'm in that sort of age now. I still think I'm pretty young at 25, but the way the league is at the moment, I'm probably one of the older boys in the team. I'm in the older teams for small-sided games as well. But it's just one of them games of, obviously we know how big the occasion is, but you can't play the occasion before the whistle goes, and then once the whistle goes, it's just another game. It's 11 men versus 11 men, and the best team on the day will hopefully win. And a lot of the boys have played in derbies in the past. So obviously, derbies are big games, and this is going to be no different. So it's more just about keeping level-headed and don't play the occasion. It's just another soccer game.
And looking at the whole season, you've had a lot of issues, I guess, with a lot of injuries throughout the year and so many challenges in getting to this point. Now, tell us a bit about Vidi and how he's been and how he's inspired the team to get to this point in, getting the best out of these young players. But then for yourself as well, I mean, throughout those periods, you played, about 5-6 different positions. We kept waiting for you to throw the gloves on at some point and getting goal, such as your versatility. But yeah, tell us a bit about both those things.
Yeah, I think Vidi's a very level-headed guy. He's he's very down to earth, and he keeps everyone in a good spot. So we don't get too ahead of ourselves when things are going well, and we don't go into the dumps when things weren't going so well. Obviously, we've had a lot of injuries this year, but Vidi's obviously showed the the faith in the younger boys, and when they've stepped up really well. They've played a lot of big minutes, and they've probably won us a few games along the way as well. And that's obviously put us in good stead coming to the finals of, if it does end up going the extra time, we've got these young boys that can come on and do well. And like you said, I've obviously had to step up and play a few different positions this year that I've been happy to do, and help the team obviously finish second, but put us in a good spot to make the finals, which we ended up doing.
I'll be honest, Nathaniel, I think a lot of people were probably quite surprised when they saw that you were coming back to the league at the start of the season. And it's obviously a big decision for you to make, that you've signed on a permanent basis. How did you feel when you were coming back at the start of the year? Did you feel as though maybe you've had still something to prove about having to come back from overseas and then do it again? Or is it more so that you think it's about opportunities when they arise and you back yourself to go and move back overseas at some stage in the future?
Yeah, I think it was obviously one of them points of, you should have had to make a decision of what was next. But probably a big thing for me was I told Tilio before I signed, I said, I don't want to come back if we're not going to be fighting for trophies. I don't think I was in that situation where I was desperate to come back, but as a footballer, you want to be fighting for trophies every year, and to come back to a club like this that have done it for so many years now, you look at the team, we've got such a strong side, I wanted to come back if we were going to fight for trophies, and we've put ourselves to do that. And I think personally, this is probably the first season in my career that I haven't had a stop-start season of, maybe a month or 2 month injury. This is the first time I've played nearly every game except for the first leg of the semi-final with just a minor strain. But, I'm back to feeling confident in my own body. Obviously got a point to prove of, I'm not just here to rest on my laurels. I'm ready to push on and make a name for myself.
Just touching on the Scottish League there, obviously there's a lot of boys playing there at the moment doing well. Nicholas Milanovic is heading over there. You've seen him firsthand. How do you think he'll go over there? But I guess in terms of the A-League, when you compare against the Scottish League, do you see some differences or some similarities as to the reason why so many boys are going over there and doing well?
Yeah, I think it's a good league, very competitive league. Obviously, you got the big teams like Rangers and Celtic, and then under that, it chops and changes through the years of like stronger teams. Obviously, I was at Hearts; they were a massive team, probably the third biggest team in the league. And now you see, Milanovic is going to Aberdeen. They've had such a good year this year. They just won the cup. And as long as he goes back over there and keeps his same belief that he had over here, I'm sure he's going to do really well. Obviously, he scored a lot of goals this year, played really well, and I think the difference over there is that players over there are playing for their livelihoods. There's relegation, so if you get relegated, then your wages get cut, all this sort of stuff. So it's so much backlash if you don't perform, and I think it's definitely a good league to go over there and experience that sort of do or die football.
Cliche time, Nathaniel. Form goes out the window in a derby. This derby is a little bit different because it is a grand final. What's the reasoning behind the form against Victory this year? Obviously, you're yet to beat them this season. Obviously, it will be sweet if you can beat them in the game that really matters. But what do you think needs to kind of change? Is there anything mindset-wise that will change going into this game?
Nothing mindset-wise. I think we go into every game wanting to win. Football's a strange game where things sometimes don't go your way. But I think the way that we've sort of built our form through the year, like you said, form goes out the window in a derby, but we've gone 8 undefeated now. We're sort of getting a good base. We have faith in ourselves and we have trust in our teammates to take the ball and make things happen. And I think everyone's hitting form at the right point. And now it's about us going to the game and playing the match, not the occasion, and really putting our first step forward. And hopefully, that will lead to the win.
Well, we are very neutral here on Total A-Leagues, Nathaniel. We had Bruno Fornaroli on. We wished him the best of luck for the grand final this weekend. The very same to you. Thanks for your time. Best of luck this weekend.
Good luck, mate.
Very much. Thank you.
Very interesting, I thought, what Nathaniel... 2 things there. A, the body language, very relaxed. Like you said at the top of the show, very calm, keeping sort of level-headed going into this week, Brosque. But he mentioned the form run. 8 undefeated going into this game. Just how crucial is that going to be, knowing that, we know Melbourne City are a team that love to control games, they've got the players to do it, but when they've got the records behind them to show that they've been doing it for 8 games in a row going into the biggest one of the season, how key is that?
Very important, and that's why I'm so torn. I think Melbourne Victory, yes, a big club and made for these moments, but Melbourne City go into it with great form. You know, their defence has been so strong. So, I mean, if you rely on what you've been doing week to week leading into the grand final, there's no surprise that he's so relaxed. You know, he knows, and it was interesting, even his comments about the do-or-die nature overseas, promotion, relegation. There's so much at stake behind each game that this is, you know, he's been through these moments before. He knows what it's like, and so many players in that change room have. So, look, I think form plays a huge part, because in the back of Victory's mind, as you know, as much as they're prepared for this game and they've done the hard work in going away to the Wanderers, going away to Auckland and winning, Melbourne City are in good form, very irresistible form, really. And defensively, they're so strong, and that will be in Victory's mind. So it is important, and I think you can see it with Nathaniel Atkinson's, you know, with his body language there.
Brosque, I think one of the key takeaways from the tie as a whole between Melbourne City and Western United, but the second leg in particular, was that we knew Melbourne City had done so well in the first leg to establish such a lead like they did, that it meant that all the onus and the pressure was on Western United, and if they didn't score an early goal, then Melbourne City could relax, but would have been very confident in knowing that they had the best defensive record in the league during the regular season, that they could hold any team out. The fact that they took the game to Western United, had a number of chances, and made the game, you know, put the game to bed so early on, that shows you how dominant this Melbourne City team can be when they really want to be.
It is, because they could have made a lot of changes, they could have rested a lot of players, and really this game was a formality, really. I mean, being up 3-0, and yes, we know Western United can score goals, and they back themselves to do so. But yeah, I do like that, and Nathaniel Atkinson's comments as well about not changing the way they play. I mean, they went into this game thinking we go into every game to win, so they didn't change, they didn't, you know, start preparing for the Victory game, and the way they went about it, again, it just carries on this incredible form. And this guy here, you know, I mean, he was asked about, you know, whether this was to spark the players, and he said no. I mean, this is just a moment. He didn't like the tackle, but that's the type of player he is, the type of leader he is. He does inspire without even trying, and I think he's been a huge key to what they've done this season. You know, I guess through injuries, form of certain players, he's been there and really been a guy that they can rely upon. And his energy getting up and down the pitch has been fantastic. So I think they're there for a reason. They deserve to be. They back themselves defensively. They're going to frustrate Melbourne Victory, but they've been great to watch.
You mentioned Aziz Behich. Let's hear from the Melbourne City captain now. He spoke to Paramount Plus after the full-time whistle.
You know, we'll analyse that this week, but look, we'll enjoy this result tonight with our fans, and obviously go home with our family and friends. And you know, look, it's a big achievement, Champions League this year, and now we've got an opportunity to get our hands on silverware.
Are you going to sleep calmly, or is there a bit of excitement and anticipation there, knowing that you are a couple of sleeps away from potentially lifting a championship, which you are yet to do, surprisingly, in the A-Leagues?
Yeah, I've been gone for a while. She had to throw that one. No, I've been gone for a while, but yeah, look, like I said, we'll enjoy tonight. I'll sleep like a baby, I think. You know, body's a bit battered, a bit tired. You know, we'll enjoy this, and you know, come Monday morning, full focus will be on Melbourne Victory.
If you flip the coin and you look at Western United, John Aloisi, obviously they're a club that he's had such a young team this season. Nobody really expected Western United to be up there contending for a potential championship come the end of the season. It would be right to say that he's naturally disappointed, but this is what John Aloisi had to say at the end of the game when speaking to Paramount Plus, given just the nature of the campaign that Western United have had and how proud he is of the efforts of his team that's been the youngest in the competition this season.
Yeah, that we started with a 17-year-old, we had a 21-year-old. We got the youngest team in the comp, and you know, this is a good learning for them. It's a good learning experience for them. A lot of them, this is their first final series, first big finals games, and they're different. So, but they kept on going, and that's the pleasing thing. This team doesn't give up, and we've been through some off-field issues as well, but it doesn't let them affect them, and they just keep on doing their best.
Was that a distraction? We know the players took some action this week. How difficult was it off-field to keep them focused on what happens on the field?
No, it wasn't a distraction. The players have been focused the whole season and dealt with situations, obstacles that we've dealt with over a period of time. But I'm proud of the group. I'm proud of what they've been able to do this season. Yes, disappointing that we didn't go one step further and get to a grand final again, but you know, they should be proud of themselves. The football that we played this season, majority of the time, was outstanding, scoring a lot of goals. We just fell short in the end, and that happens, and we have to learn from it.
Yeah, they have been a pleasure to watch at times this season, Western United. And if you think about the job that John Aloisi has done there, Brosque, you know, he had a team when he won the championship that had the likes of Leo Lacroix, Alexander Prijovic, you know, big names and kind of big personalities. To do what he's done this year with younger players in the team, like you mentioned, you know, Dylan Leonard, Noah Botic, there are plenty of others. I mean, he should be immensely proud, and the club should be immensely proud of the job that the team, you know, his coaching staff and the players have done.
Without a doubt. And look, it was such a frustrating season last year in finishing 11th, and the club, they stuck by him, and rightfully so. I mean, he won the championship with them in his first season. So he's turned the club around amazingly. I think with a high turnover of players as well, I think they needed to have that heading into this season. But the football that they played at times, the amount of goals they scored, very exciting team. A lot of the youngsters that came through as well. I mean, Botic, and we've seen his, you know, how Johnny's been able to nurture his progress, and, you know, hopefully he ends up overseas as well. But Dylan Leonard is another one. Yeah. Wallity was exciting as well, what we saw of him. So he's nurtured a lot of good young talent. And I think, I mean, we'll see whether he stays or not, but I think he should be proud of what the players have done and how he's turned things around for them.
Well, it is very interesting because Noah Botic's future is one that's been discussed throughout the course of this season. He finished, you know, second in the race for the Golden Boot. But John Aloisi's contract is also technically up as of the end of June. He was asked about his future in his post-match press conference. Take a listen.
And I mean, you're off contract. Was this your last game at the helm?
I hope not. I don't think so. There's still a lot to go through, and you know, the conversations with the club. So let's just wait and see. But I haven't really thought about it too much over the last month because, you know, I wanted to fully focus on the finals, and now we've got time to reflect and see, you know, where we need to improve as a club and where we need to get better as a squad, and see how we can build for next season.
I know you've talked about before that ambition that still burns overseas-wise. Is that something that you could look to if the right club, the right offer comes up?
Yeah, that's only if an offer comes up. I'll look at it, but at the moment there's nothing there.
Now, Brosque, to me, that sounds like a man who knows more than likely he's going to be staying there. He did leave the door ajar, but that, to me, it feels like the right fit. It feels like the right decision for both parties that John Aloisi should be at Western United next season.
Definitely. I mean, in terms of the A-League, I don't think he'll go anywhere here. I think he's started something incredible there at Western United and will want to continue building that. And yeah, like you said, with the takeover, there's a lot behind the scenes happening at the club at the moment. Hopefully some positive signs that the club is on the way up. But I think it's up to him. You know, if he wants to challenge himself, if something comes up and go overseas potentially, we're seeing a lot of Aussie managers doing that in recent years, and it'd be great for him to do that. But in terms of the A-League, if he wants to stay, no doubt Western United, he's got a job there and will continue to build there.
So Western United missing out on a spot in the Isuzu A-League Grand Final. It is Melbourne City against Melbourne Victory this weekend at a packed-out Amy Park. Brosque, let's get onto the game itself, shall we? Where is this fixture going to be won and lost? Given it's the magnitude of a Grand Final and a mistake can be so costly in this game, who's going to come out on top, and if so, why?
Oh, look, in previewing this game and looking at it, I mean, form... You're talking Melbourne City, right? They go in with incredible form. They've been so solid defensively, so strong at the back, and they can frustrate Melbourne Victory, I think. But then you look at the games they've played during the season, and Melbourne Victory has you know, got the upper hand there. They're undefeated against Melbourne City in all three derbies. Melbourne Victory in big games, in big occasions as well. So, look, I do think in a tight game, and this will be a tight game, which is why I'm leaning more towards City. I think they know that their defence is good enough to rely on, but they know as well with Tilio going forward, Lecky, whether he starts or comes on as well, they've got a lot of quality going forward and they can hurt Victory. So for me, that's where it's won. I think, you know, with Victory's attack and the amount of quality they have going forward, Melbourne City can frustrate them, and I think they will. And that's why I'm predicting a very, very narrow City win.
Well, we've seen highlights here of the games they've played this season. Melbourne City yet to taste success against Victory in the 2024-25 campaign. City, you're right, they have the game breakers. They've had so many injuries this season, so it's easy to forget that how good the likes of Andreas Kuhn has been since he's come back in. Jonathan Cohen, we mentioned Marco Tilio, Matthew Lecky, the big selection headache that Aurelio Vidmar has around him and whether or not he plays him. But, you know, the unbeaten run for Victory against City doesn't just stem from this season. We saw them playing in the elimination final last year when there was that dramatic penalty shootout, and that's just how tight these two fixtures have been. So I mean, this is it now. I mean, Paul Izzo was an absolute superstar in this game last year. These types of games are made for big players. We spoke about it with Bruno Fornaroli at the top of the show, right? He's the someone that you can imagine stepping up and making the difference in a game like this. Does it matter for Melbourne City that it is Melbourne Victory and that it is that run that they've had against them where they haven't tasted success in quite a while? Does that play any part in this?
It definitely does. And look, I spoke about my experience, you know, in playing against Victory in finals and not wanting to come up against them regardless of what's happened during the season. So all these things get mentioned, and the players, they read the comments, they see it as much as they try and stay away from it. So it is in the back of their mind, all these things, all the history that comes before, you know, this fixture and everything that's happened up until now. This is a huge game, but you know, I love Nathaniel Atkinson's mood in the interview. Super relaxed, and that's the way they need to be to win this game. I think Victory will come in with so much energy, so much fire going into it. They'll start with a lot of aggression. If City keep their nerve and keep calm and keep to what they've been doing, that's what will get them over the line.
Brosque, someone that's been spoken about across the A-League's channels this season is Marco Tilio, and just the impact that he's had and the things he can do when he's fully fit. We know he had a bad hamstring injury that kept him out for quite a big chunk of this season. He's come back, and on his day, he's arguably the best player in the competition. That is a view that is shared by the A-League's download team. Take a listen.
For Melbourne Victory, one of the other keys for them to have success, you talked about, they've got to stop Tilio. Tilio is their man, and whether Leckie, I know he played 45 minutes, he came off the bench and got some more minutes. Whether, you know, really a Vidmar goes, it's a grand final, let's just put him in there and try to give him as much impact on the game. You need to have someone like him in there. Whether he's up to that sharpness and intensity, especially at grand final level it'll be interesting to see. But you've got to stop Tilio. I mean, you see how good he is. You talked about that 15-second turnaround. Every time it seems to be like that, it's coming through Tilio. And I think in Sierra, looks like, I reckon he's going to probably have that opportunity to maybe stop him. I think he's been unbelievable. I think he's got a really bright future. You can see, I think there was a tackle he made in that Auckland game where Marino was on the charge and he came across and he made an amazing tackle. And this is a young boy too that comes in. So I think he'll play on that right wing back and will probably have the duty of stopping someone like Tilio, because he's incredible when he's allowed to get the ball and turn, and that's where you got to stop him.
Not that it matters. I've already set my stall at Brosque and thinking he's one of the best players in the competition on form and in full flight. Is that a view you share?
Yeah, definitely. He's such an exciting player. You know, he can drift anywhere in that sort of midfield forward position and be a threat. You know, and that's what he brings. He's the guy that you want to be getting on the ball. Like Archie said there, I think there's so many guys that can hurt you, but he's the guy that, you know, they'll back their defence, and rightfully so, but when they can, wherever he is, you look into Tilio, because he's the game breaker. He's a guy who can take players on. He can, you know, draw in 2 or 3 defenders and slip a pass in that not many can. So, you know, I think it's stopping him. You know, Teague's had a fantastic season. Does he follow him around a little bit? Or I think, look, wherever he is, that's Melbourne Victory's key is stopping him. They need to communicate well, make sure they know where he is at all times, because he can hurt you from anywhere.
You mentioned teams and being picked. This is the time in the show where we get people online saying that we don't know what we're talking about, Brosque, and we're biased towards one team or another. We have been tasked with picking our Melbourne Derby 11 that we think of players are available or potentially available for this weekend. Talk us through your team first, which is on screen now.
Look, no real surprise, I think, in the early couple of positions. Langerack, you know, if he plays, is definitely the number one there. And then, you know, the back line is heavily features Melbourne City players. You know, they've been so strong defensively. Atkinson and Beige have been fantastic. And then, you know, in the middle, heart of that defence, I mean, these two guys with the aggression that they bring week to week, I think that's going to be key going into a final. And then Mashash has been wonderful for Victory, getting forward. I've got him a little bit deeper there in midfield next to Teague, who's had an incredible season himself. And then Leckie, big game player, Arzani and Tilio behind Fornaroli. I think that's a very formidable front line.
Yeah. Very, very powerful indeed. We can take a look at my team now if you want, Brosque, as the former football expert on this panel. Feel free to critique. So, Mitch Langerack, I think if he is anywhere near fit enough, he will play this game, and that's no slight on Jack Duncan. I think Jack Duncan's actually had a really good season for Melbourne Victory, but it's Mitch Langerak. The back line is very similar. Bajic, Miranda, Atkinson all the same. I went for Kai Truin just because I think he's been really, well, not even low-key impressive. I think he's been fantastic, and he's been so versatile for City and Aurelio Vidmar this year. Similar figures in midfield. Ryan Teagan, Zinedine Mashash, yes. I went for Andreas Kuhn because I think if you look at his numbers and look at the impact he has on this Melbourne City time, he's often, when he's been fit, because he's had injury issues this year, he's been really key to them. Marco Tilio, Bruno Fornaroli, exactly the same. Now, I went for Nishan Velupillay. Now, being honest, I think it's probably a miracle if Nishan Velupillay plays in the grand final this weekend, given what looked to be the lower leg injury he suffered against Auckland. Daniel Alzani did push him very close, and I think had Jonathan Cohen played a bit more this year, the bits that we've seen from him at Melbourne City, he's been very impressive as well. It has been a fantastic few weeks for A-League's alumni, Alex Brosque, starting with the man whose name has been on everybody's lips, including the man who normally hosts this show, Vince Rigori. That is Ange Postecoglou. What a moment for him and for Tottenham Hotspur, ending that trophy drought, lifting the UEFA Europa League like they did against Manchester United in Bilbao. These are the scenes from the parade through North London, and it is a very, very special moment for Tottenham Hotspur, but also for Ange, because we know the amount of stick and the amount of, barbs that he's had to deal with from the press and from everybody doubting his abilities to take Tottenham to a moment of glory like this. Just how special is that for Ange and for Australian football, because it shows you how far he's come from where he started here.
It's great to watch these scenes, the connection he has with the players and the fans, because you're right, he was doubted, and he's been doubted for much of this back end of his career. He's been coaching, as he rightfully pointed out, for 30 years, and some of the ignorant comments that were thrown his way about being a new manager, and he's had to work hard to get to where he has and done an incredible job. So for him to constantly be proving people wrong, be paving the way for a lot of Australian managers who are, following in his footsteps in many ways, and him bringing Mile Jedinak and Monty and Serge and hopefully getting their managerial careers started as well is great that he's looking after local managers as well, and great for us to watch.
Just from somebody that's, you are so synonymous with this league, as is Ange Postecoglou, from someone who's played here and has been around the game in a punditry perspective now, what do you think the A-League has done for Ange? And what did it do for him at the time when he was trying to make his name and at Brisbane Roar to start off with? Does that give you so much belief and confidence that this league can act as such a positive and such a springboard for people that have big aspirations to go overseas, be it a managerial capacity or a playing capacity?
Look, it can, because we have so many good players here and so many good young managers. It's just the A-League, and Australia in general as a footballing nation is underappreciated, underestimated, and it always has been. So every player that goes over, every manager has a real point to prove and has to work twice as hard, I think, to take someone's spot from, that's already there. So again, it makes it all the more special when you see what Ange is doing, and we're all rooting for him. We're all hoping he does well, and to see him go on and do well and again, pave the way for the next crop of managers is great to watch. It shows, that the A-League is a good springboard for players, for managers to be successful, and we can be. The young kids coming through, it's inspiring so many people that, he's done an incredible job.
He has done an incredible job. We'll see if there is a season 3. So season 3 is always better than season 2. We'll see if Ange is sticking around in the Premier League for next year. But it's not just the Isuzu A-League that's helping produce these coaches and these players. It's the Ninja A-League as well. We saw a trio of Matildas at the weekend who all came through the Ninja A-League got their big start in the world of football. Kyra Cooney-Cross, Steph Catley, Caitlin Ford. They won the UEFA Women's Champions League with Arsenal beating Barcelona in the final. I mean, again, if you're looking at role models, like just in particular the lady in the middle holding up the trophy, Steph Catley, this is just another fairy tale story and another massive win for Australian football.
It is. It doesn't come much bigger than that. Winning the Champions League against Barcelona, no less. It's such a huge moment, and again, these girls went over there and they're all flying the flag, and we've got so many Matildas and former Matildas that have played in these big leagues that are inspiring the next generation of young girls coming through, and further proof as well that the A-Leagues, both men and women can produce high quality international players that can be on the world stage and do well. So, for those 3 girls, fantastic. An incredible achievement to be Champions League winners.
Well, all those players we just mentioned and coach got the moves overseas via virtue of transfers. It's a topic that everybody loves talking about, especially in the off-season. We're not technically there yet, but we will be soon. But transfers are already happening. This is brought to you by eToro. The big transfers that are making news at the moment, some rumours as well, Brosque. Let's start with one that broke on Tuesday. That was Costa Barbarouses leaving Wellington Phoenix. Now, Costa's had a brilliant 2 seasons for the Knicks since returning. He's someone that you know well. A surprise that he's left the Knicks, given that, that it felt like they were building something special, especially last year. Maybe didn't go as well as they wanted this year, but is that a surprise that he's left?
It is, because he was still going forward, the guy they were looking to, and the guy who came up with a lot of their goals this season, and moments of quality. So I thought, yes, it was a frustrating season and changes probably need to be made, but I thought, he's a guy that even in the change room, he's such a great guy to have around, and whether his minutes might be limited next year, that could have been an option, but to still have him there, I think would have been important for the squad. So to lose him, look, it is sending, I guess, a bit of a message in one way that, this season wasn't good enough from the Knicks. They need to bounce back and be a lot stronger, because they were hard to watch at times throughout the year. They really lacked anything going forward, but, what they did have was Costa Barbarouses. So, yeah, it's odd to see him leaving. I thought he would have finished his career in Wellington, but, obviously not.
Now, there is a big surprise, a bit of a bombshell that came out this week of rumours that Western Sydney Wanderers forward Zach Sapsford is being linked to and is being appreciated by, shall we say, his old club, Sydney FC. Now, given Zach Sapsford left Sydney FC to go to the Wanderers, has got a ridiculously good scoring record against his old club, Sydney FC. Is that something that you could see happening? And I'm going to hold you on that, because we can hear from Zach Sapsford after he won the eToro Playmaker of the Year award at the Dolan Warren Awards. This is what he had to say about his future and also the link that he has and the rapport he has with the Wanderers and their fans.
The fans, the RBB, you've made yourself a Wanderer well and truly. You got this great connection with them. Talk to us about the relationship you have with the fan base and that dynamic and how you feed off it and how they have fed off you.
Oh, I love it. I think without them, the game would be completely different. We obviously play for the fans, and especially the Wanderers and the RBB, they're the best fans in the league, and I think it helps us win games at points, because I remember a moment in the season just recently, MacArthur away. I think we walked out and just thinking it's an away game, and I just saw all these Wanderers fans everywhere, and that kind of clicked in my mind. I was like, wow, it's okay. They really care and they really support us. And I think this season we've shown what we can do, and hopefully next season we can provide something for them.
Does that sound to you, Alex Brosque, as someone who's about to jump ship once again and head back to the arch rivals of the team that you already left once before?
Look, no. I think the way he's pumping up the RBB there and what they mean to him and vice versa, absolutely not. I don't think he'd be making those comments and then, crossing the city again back to Sydney FC.
Brosque, the board has gone up on the touchline. 3 minutes added on. We are in extra time here on Total A-Leagues. Let's start with the 2025 Johnny Warren medalist, Nicholas Milanovic. For you, richly deserved that he took out that award this year. And also, we've heard from Nathaniel Atkinson. Just quickly, do you reckon he'll do well in Scotland?
I think he will. I think he's got a beautiful left foot, and for so many times for the Wanderers this season, he was, relied upon a lot and came up with big moments. So I think, it was a year that wasn't really dominated by any one player. So I think if you look across a couple of the guys that could have won it, he's definitely one of the standouts of the league. Had a fantastic year, and in my mind, a deserved winner.
Yeah, some very much deserved winners at the Dolan Warren Awards. Steve Corica, Coach of the Year, Goalkeeper of the Year. Surprise, surprise, Alex Paulson. Francis de Vries was Shark Fan Player of the Year. We heard from Zach Sapsford, he was the Playmaker of the Year. Jordan Lawton won Goal of the Year. We could go on, but Goal of the Year. This is one I want to touch on, because we saw Ariaf Piel scored on a ridiculous bicycle kick from MacArthur early in the season, but Jordan Lawton took it out for this bicycle kick against Perth Glory. I mean, you can't top that, can you?
Difficult, for a youngster to do that in the game. I think it was probably the last kick of the game, if I'm not mistaken, as well. A great moment. His first goal, you can see what it means to him, and Yeah, I don't think I ever scored a goal anywhere near something like that in all my years, and he's done it as his first. So congratulations to him. It was a nice award he'll get to take out. Hopefully the start of very many goals for him, but beautiful. A bicycle's always a worthy winner.
Always looks good, bicycle, no matter what angle you watch it from. Right, let's talk about grand final memories, shall we? Heading into the final minutes of extra time. The big one this weekend. Alex Brosque, let's go deep into the memory bank here. Favourite grand final memory for you?
For me, it was the 2016-17 grand final with Sydney. We had an incredible season. We broke a lot of records along the way, and it was one of those seasons where just going into every game, you knew that you wouldn't be beaten. But that all counts for nothing if you don't go on and win the grand final. And I think the fact that the final was in Sydney, so many family and friends, at that moment as well. It just was even to win it in penalties as much as it would be great to win it in 90. The drama of it all, I think, was great. And again, to cap off an incredible season, that was my favourite grand final memory.
Prediction time. I'm going to go one by one. First up, score prediction.
I think it'll be a close one. I think Melbourne City's defence will win out in this one. I'm going 1-0 Melbourne City.
Goal scorer prediction.
I'm going Matthew Leckie to come on and score.
Oh, what a moment. Joe Master medalist then, has that answered that question?
No, I think as is Beige. I think there'll be another inspirational performance from him. He'll inspire his team and he'll take it out.
Well, that is all we've got time for on this week's episode of Total A-Leagues. We will see if Alex Brosque's predictions come true this weekend. It is the Melbourne Derby Grand Final. It's Melbourne City against Melbourne Victory. Get your tickets. There's still some available now. Go to the A-Leagues website to snap those up. Brosque, pleasure as always, mate. Look forward to the game this weekend. Enjoy the Grand Final as ever. Thanks for watching. Check out the football this weekend.